All right, let's get this phone training kicked off. Welcome to the call. This call is designed primarily for those that are just dialing or just getting started or maybe are having some issues with setting appointments. Don't feel bad. Happens to all of us. Happened to me. It's happened to everybody on this call. And the leaders have gathered and are here to help you. What we're going to cover today, we're going to cover several different topics. We're going to start with mechanics. What do you need to have prepared before you dial? Like leads, good headset, all the technology that you need to have ready to go. I'm going to start off by talking about that. Again, my name's Nate Hall, one of the agency owners here for the Hall Agency. And then right after that, we're going to go into mental preparation and mindset before you start dialing. One of our good dialers, Mr. Aaron Wolf, is going to be leading that conversation. We're going to follow that then with greeting and first paragraph of the script. And we're going to tag team this. Both Maria and Kara are going to divide and conquer on the greeting in the first paragraph of the script because you're going to be able to hear a couple different personalities, a couple different results, and both of them are working very different levels of leads, which is why we felt it was really important to hear the greeting from both of them based on the lead type that you're working. We're going to migrate right into gathering of all the information that we're going to need, and Bill Davies is going to handle all that. Then we're going to throw it back to Aaron, and he's going to talk about finding the why and why that is so important and how he actually does that. He's one of the best we have in our agency for doing that. And then we'll wrap it up with Kara talking about the tie down and everything related to scheduling. After that, Kara is also going to cover the post-appointment instructions, what you need for risk assessments, virtual mentor, agent guides, things like that. And then we're going to do some one-on-one role playing with each other. Aaron and Kara are going to role play, and then Maria and Aaron are going to do it again. And then we're going to talk about the transition from quantity to quality and what that's going to look like as you go through the first several weeks of your dials. After that, we are going to open the lines up. You guys are going to be able to ask any questions that you have on dialing. And then we're going to play a little game of Stump the Agents, Stump the Pros, where you guys throw objections at them that you've gotten over the phone for those of you that have been dialing, and you're going to be able to try and stump them on that. We'll have some fun with that at the end. All in all, have paper and pen ready. This is going to be a great session. And we're going to go ahead and get it started. And again, welcome to the call. We appreciate you being on. If you're not on mute, go ahead and mute yourself out if you're not speaking. We want to keep this recording as clean as possible because we will be uploading this to the LMS. First thing you're going to need to be successful on the phones is a great background and training. And for those of you that can see the screen, I've got our phase 4. This is our phone training phase. And it is stuffed full of very valuable, important information, and you want to make sure that you have gone through this several times. Tom, your onboarding manager, or Shane, if Shane's onboarding you, will run you through this. He'll make sure that you've done your 25th attempt, and he'll talk about the importance of activity reports and as well as guiding you for your first order of leads, things like that when it comes time. If you're not to that point yet, this is what you get to look forward to. If you've already done this, you know full well how important this phase is. And for a lot of you, I think we've got 5 or 6 people on the call today that are taking leads for the first time. So this is going to be a huge boost for you, and we appreciate you taking time out of your day to be on this. Let's start about preparing for your dial. You've now gone through the phone training phase on the LMS. You're getting ready to sit down, dial for your first time. Here's the things you're going to need. So if you've got a pen and paper out, make sure you're taking notes with this. First thing you want to do is you want to go into Opt. You want to go into the CRM and print out your leads. There's tutorials on how to do that. We're not going to walk through that today. You guys can figure that out, but don't use leads on your screen. Use printed dials, printed leads, especially for the first couple of weeks. You want to have those out. You print them, and then what you want to do, as soon as you get them all printed, at the top corner, just pick a place on the lead, write the date that you received it, and the lead level. If it was a 5A lead, a 4A lead, a 3A lead, that's going to be really important, especially when you get several weeks into this, because you want to know how old that lead is, how long you've had it in your possession, because it may set up for a drop-in or a door knock or something like that if we've been able to try to reach them for 3 or 4 weeks and have been unsuccessful. So very important that you have your leads organized by date and by lead type. So just write that on the top corner. Again, lead type, 5A, 4A, 3A, whatever your lead level is, and the date should be all you need. You need a good device, especially if you're using headsets. Try to stay away from cheap Bluetooth headsets like Plantronics, like these. For those of you that could see me in the camera, like these little things, they're not very good quality, and you want the very best quality possible. A lot of our agents will use actual wired headsets, which we highly recommend because you don't have any interference like you can have with Bluetooth, some of those other connections. We do recommend a headset, although it's not required. You can just use your handset. I use iPhone X, and I actually just use speakerphones when I'm doing all my dials. So you don't have to get real fancy with this. Speakerphones on the iPhones in particular are very, very clear and very good. Just make sure you've got a good quality headset if you are going to use one. Let's talk about local numbers for a second. When you're just getting started, it's okay to just use one phone number, but a lot of agents find that they like to have a second phone number or even a third phone number, and there's multiple sources, multiple ways to do that. But we're going to give you a word of caution on that because you can get yourself into trouble with multiple numbers. I just use my cell phone very rarely, but once in a while I will use a home phone. We're old-fashioned, I guess. We live out in the country, and we actually still have a home phone, if you can believe it or not. And I will use that to switch up numbers, but all my numbers are local. Same area code, very, very important. I just use Verizon for my cell phone provider. I don't get fancy with purchasing a bunch of different numbers, things like that. I keep it pretty simple because my job is to dial. I don't want to mess around with a lot of technology. There have been times where I've been traveling for leads and they're in a different area code or they're in a different state even altogether. And when I run into those instances, I do want a local phone number. For example, I was running Cincinnati, Ohio, which is a 513 area code. I live in Lexington, Kentucky. We're at 859 area code. 859 area code pushes all the way to the south of Cincinnati. So it runs right up to the river of Cincinnati, but it doesn't actually cover Metro Cincinnati. That's 513 area code. Cheapest, easiest way I found to manipulate my area code was actually using a Google Voice account. And if you use Google Voice on an iPhone, and I believe Android functions the same way, but if you use Google Voice on an iPhone, once you run the app, it is just like using your regular iPhone. It's the same keypad, same everything, but when your number goes out, it's got the area code that you choose. Google Voice is a great source, and it won't show up as a block call. Magic Jack is another great source. You can download their app. I think it's like $40 a year to use. There's Grasshopper. There's other apps that you can use to manipulate your phone number and make sure you're dialing in a local area code. The only thing that we caution with is be careful of free applications or 99-cent applications in app stores, things like that, because typically what will happen is if you're using one of those and you call somebody with an iPhone or a Galaxy or something like that, Shane Janigs, for example, did that. He used an app called Sideline, and he was calling like 120, 130 people, and he'd get one contact. And we're trying to figure out what in the world is going on. And this happened for several weeks. What we found out is he was using Sideline, and he called me from it by mistake. And it popped up red on my phone and said, spam caller. And after we figured that out, his contacts went through the roof. We could not figure out what in the world was wrong with Shane because he went about 3 weeks and would dial hundreds of times and only get 2 or 3 contacts. That was why. So be very careful on the technology that you use to get multiple numbers. For those of you using our new power dialer, which we recommend after you're several weeks into the business, you've got your feet on the ground, Power Dialer will control numbers automatically, so you don't really have to worry about it. That's in the setup, and you can purchase as many numbers as you want through the Power Dialer. Power Dialer will come in and be very, very handy for you once you're several weeks in and you've got a good foundation on the phone. But we don't typically recommend a new agent start off with the Power Dialer just because the technology can sometimes be a little complicated, and you want to make sure you've got a good foundation on the phones before you get to that point. As far as that goes, the only other thing you need when you're making phone calls is you need to have your schedule. Symmetry has these wonderful things called ASAP planners that you can get on the SFG Life store, sfglife.com, go to agent store, and you can get these planners where it has the Symmetry weeks spelled out. So where you can write your appointments in, leaves hour gaps, things like that. It follows the Symmetry system. So I highly recommend having one of these in your possession. If not, any regular paper calendar or planner will do. I don't recommend using Google Calendar or iCal or anything like that because you don't want to be fumbling with technology. You want to keep the speed up. You want to keep the pace up of your phone calls. And to do that, the last thing you want to do is be messing with tech. Pen and paper is best. Keep it old school. Use a pen and paper for your scheduling. You can go put them into Google Calendar after your dials are done, and that really works cool with Google Maps, so all your appointments are right in a row. But while you're dialing, it needs to be very simple, very short. Use pen and paper. Can't recommend that enough. So you need your calendar, you need your leads, you need your phone and a headset if you have one, and a pen. That's all you need. Nothing fancy. Just make sure you got a local number and you're ready to go. With that, I'm going to hand this off to Mr. Aaron Wolf, who has just become a phenomenal person on the phone, especially lately. Has been tearing it up, had his best month ever. Aaron, you've been in the business 10 months now. What did you just finish last month? How much did you produce?
Right at 32,000.
$32,000 in APV. And what is this, month 10?
Yeah, it's exactly month 10.
Yeah, you want to know what Aaron brings home on that? About 2/3. Pretty cool number. Aaron is just absolutely destroying it on the phones. Does a great job. One of his big strong suits is his mental prep and his mindset going into the phone. So, Aaron, I'm going to let you handle this, and then we'll take it over from there. So go ahead, sir.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it. And just so everybody knows, I wasn't always good on the phones. Everybody has to go through a learning curve. So, some of the best things to do. First of all, really need to talk to your family. If you've got children, whatever, the best thing to do is to make sure you don't need any distractions during your dial time. I know it sounds kind of corny or whatever, but typically I will dial for a 2 to 3 hour session. I've got a note on the door on outside that I put up that way the little neighbor kids don't come and knock. I mean, it's super important just to dedicate, 2 to 3 hours at least for one dial session. Absolutely, if you got to pee or something, absolutely, you got to do that. But in your physical environment has a lot to do with it as well. I've moved my office around so many times. Right now where I'm sitting, I'm looking out at the patio. Where you dial and your environment has a lot to do with it. With me personally, I was back in my bedroom for a while, kind of depressing, dark, that sort of thing. Little things like that can get you in a better mood. Something that's huge, and it took me a while to really get this, are the objections. And you guys have probably been, I can't remember what phase it is, Nate, but objections are just absolutely huge. And I think it's one of the Ziller guys. He had said, somebody will go to college, which I did too, former graphic designer and art director for 17 years. You'll dedicate 4 years of your life, thousands and thousands of dollars, but somebody won't spend 10 hours and memorize objections. And I wish I had heard that conference call before. And since then, and I still dedicate time to memorize the objections. If you guys have been on the phone, you've heard, oh, we've already got this taken care of. We thought we had to fill it out. We didn't know what we were doing. I mean, all of these are addressed in audios that are available to you, which is super good. Totally recommend listening to as many audios as you can. It's, again, something that I didn't do in my first 2 or 3 months, and I wish I had done that a lot sooner. And practice before you dial. Most people have friends or family. I mean, run through the script with them. I did that with my wife and some friends, so you can kind of see how you sound. And it sounds corny. A lot of people will tell you memorize or record yourself. Obviously, memorize everything, but record yourself and have your objections out in front of you. For my first 3 or 4 months, maybe more, I had all the objections pinned up on a wall. Printed out separately per each objection. Oh, well, we've got life insurance at work. You've got that printed out right there that you can refer to. Super important to have those things always at your fingertips. Confidence, and that's easy to say when you've been doing this for 10 months, but the more confident you sound on the phone, it's going to come across a lot better to each client. And you guys have probably heard low and slow. We don't want to sound like a telemarketer, but you do want to sound optimistic, and you do want to smile when you dial. And that has really been a game changer for me the last 2 or 3 months. again, it's one of those things that may sound cliche or corny. And I've done a lot of reading about this. People can tell if you're happy on the other end of the line. People can tell if you don't feel confident. People can tell if you're being too telemarketing. So smile when you dial is huge. And if you want to make a note, Miranda Martin has just a phenomenal audio on that on SoundCloud, and I'd be happy to put it on our agency later, Nate. Again, I can't say that enough. Smile when you dial. It's huge, and it comes across to other people in a big way. And you need to be bold as well. And I was a little bit too shy, not as bold at first, but memorizing those objections will help you get to that point. So my two biggest takeaways would be smile when you dial, and we can put that audio up on the GroupMe, and the objections, huge to memorize those. Spend 10 hours memorizing those, and you can make a lot of money in this business.
Awesome, sir. I love it. All right. Thanks for that, Aaron. We're going to move on to the next part, and we're going to go over the greeting in the first paragraph of the script. And I want to bring on two absolutely amazing people on the phones. First is Kara DiNardo out of Phoenix, Arizona. Kara's been with us for almost a year, not quite a year yet. And I mean, there's not a lot to say about Kara other than she is the epitome of what the Symmetry system does if you follow it. She is just an absolute rock star producer, amazing mentor to her new agents. And I couldn't think of anybody better to go over the greeting because she has got it down. And what you're going to hear from Kara is absolute solid gold. The other person we're going to bring on is a new dialer. Maria's been with us for about a month. She is out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and is also very good on the phones. And what Maria's specialty is landing appointments on old leads, specifically 50 cent, 1A, 2A leads, or her wheelhouse. And I love how she sets up her greeting and how to get the attention of people that may have sent that form in a year and a half, 2 years ago or longer. She's got that system down to a T. And in her first month, Maria, what did you finish at last month? Was it like 22,000 or something?
Yep, 22,000.
22,000. First month in the business. How many years prior did you do insurance? How much experience did you
Never.
Here? Never.
None at all.
I love it. I absolutely love it. You got your license in what, February?
Yes.
So just tremendous success. And I'm going to turn it over to both Kara and Maria. Kara, I'll let you kind of take the lead on this, and can't wait to hear what you guys have to say.
Thanks. Morning, gang. Just want to give you guys a quick heads up. So for me, very similar. I've had no insurance before this, and I had a personal policy, and after understanding this business more, realized that my personal policies were very poorly written, and I was able to get something that was going to make more sense. And as you guys get familiar, look at how to do a policy on yourself, because that actually is going to help you develop skills as well. So as far as for the best script, the first thing, of course, is to be busy. So in order to be busy, make sure you have those resources. But then once you have that, then you can start going through and getting familiar with what the script looks like, and it has to be authentic. So, for example, my greeting starts out as, "Hey, my name is," or "Hi, my name is," where my husband, his is, "John, my name is," or "John Brentinaro here." And so just those small little inflections and styles will make a huge difference on the receiving end. So the first 7-8 seconds of your conversation with the client is going to be where they are qualifying you on whether or not they want to continue to listen. Then after that, you're qualifying them to ensure that you're going to be able to set them up with the best products and find out what their needs are. So how my script starts out is, I'll start out and I'll say, "Hey Nate, my name is Kara DiNardo. I'm calling you about the mortgage you have with Bank of America for about $147,000. I was following up on the handwritten form that either you or Heather had completed regarding the mortgage protection coverage options. So I was field underwriter assigned over to Cincinnati and just need to verify some information so that we can provide options for the two of you. So in that short bit, there's a lot of stuff going on, but as you listen, you're going to realize that I actually don't finish my sentences at the end of a sentence. That's one advantage to making sure that that's a piece that I've heard in the past, because as you're saying your sentence, if you end at a sentence and you say, "Hey Nate, my name is Kira Donardo. I was calling you about the mortgage you have with Bank of America for approximately $147,000. And I stop for a second to get to my next one. He's going to say, wait, I don't have that mortgage with that company, because mortgages get sold in the first couple years very often. Or the amount might be wrong, or it gives them an opportunity to interject, and that's going to slow down the process. It's also going to give the client an opportunity to maybe rethink, or it's going to give you an opportunity to say, gosh, you know what, maybe I've got the wrong information. So the best thing to do is plow through that first 2, 3, 4 sentences and try to minimize any objections. The other piece is when you're stopping in the middle of a sentence, what happens is the client inevitably knows that there's something more that needs to be said, and they're waiting to hear what that is. So if you intentionally break where your sentences are and have more long run-on sentences, that is going to help you get through that first few sentences to get to where you're starting to qualify the information. So that's my advice for you. Maria, what do you have?
Okay. So I can't do a show of hands on here, but I'm wondering how many people have the lead that is hand filled out and how many people have the called in lead? Because what I know to be true is that, like in Iowa, for instance, there's not a lot of information on those leads to go off of. And when I'm working with an older lead, basically, I just call a spade. I like to be really upfront and honest. And I basically say, hey, Kara, you want to play?
Yes.
Kara? Okay, so we do, okay, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, Kara?
Yes.
This is Maria Poplar, and I'm getting back to you about the letter you sent back to our company, mortgage protection coverage. It doesn't look like anyone ever followed up with you, did they?
I don't recall filling that out.
You know, that's exactly why I'm calling. You know, a lot of times people don't remember filling these out, and that's okay. I'll show that to you when we get together. I'm the field underwriter for Dakota County, and I need to verify the confidential information you already gave us. And then I'm going to go do some homework and get that out to you. So it says here that you and your husband don't use any tobacco. Is that still right?
Nope.
Okay. So what has changed?
Sounds perfect for a greeting, guys. That is just that's absolutely awesome. Bill's going to get into the health information in just a minute and what we asked for that. Maria, specifically, do you change your script at all versus working like a 5A or a 4A versus a 1A or a 50 cent? Or do you stay right on script?
I stay pretty much on script as much as possible. Once I find that, and this is true no matter what the lead is, if you get too far off script, you might find yourself over-educating, over-explaining, overthinking, over-convincing. Nate knows I've done that. If I get too far off script, and I do use Tom's best script, and the one thing I love is that, like Kara said, nope, I don't remember. I love that's exactly why I'm calling. And what I find is that low and slow, letting your voice be relaxed, like you're talking to a friend, is the best way to do this. Because if we're upbeat if we are announcing, if we are over condensing, if we are uptight. It's just like Aaron said, they feel it, they know it, and they're not likely to give you an appointment. So when they're like, yeah, it was just so long ago, I don't really remember, that's okay, that's why I'm calling. And you just reassure them through your language and the way you deliver it that you're there for them. So for me, I stay on the script because otherwise, like, my personality is educator. I will go off script. I am actually diagnosed ADD, so I will go down bunny holes. So I know that having this system has been monumental, and also being new, and you can ask Nate or Tom this, I used to call all the time and say, okay, I've talked to 5 people. Here's what these 5 people have said. What am I doing wrong? Because in that, I can tell them what these people are saying, and they can tell me what I'm doing wrong or what I could do better, or I can go through the script with them and go, and honestly, I will tell you, there's times in the beginning where you're going to get a little flabbergasted and be like, oh, you know, when the first one reaches out and they cuss at you, you're like, whoa, but you let it roll off. And you call your upline and go, oh, okay, well, this just happened. And they're like, nah, don't worry about it. It happens every once in a while. So in regards to the first part, I would say stay on script, be in a relaxed, smiley, happy state. One thing I can tell you is that on one of the recorded calls, there's a newer agent like myself who helps out with Miranda with a call. And she talks about happy essential oils to lift her mood. And that's absolutely true. Citrus, you get a water and put some lemon in it. It will lift your mood. It will put a smile on your face and clean your liver and your kidneys. But citrus essential oils are fantastic to put in a diffuser, to put a drop of it in your water, put a drop in the palm of your hand and inhale them. It takes 22 seconds to change your mood. That's it.
Awesome.
And you will have a smile on your face. So,
excellent.
Yeah, if you're not finding it on your own, take your break and then find your smile and stay low and slow.
Hey, Nate, one last thing that I would tell you on my script that I had modified, and you guys are going to realize that you're going to have your script, and in the first month, be okay with modifying it. Mine changed probably 10, 12 times in the first month, but one of the things I removed, regardless of what lead level I'm working, I have removed the, hey, do you remember filling this out? Because that just gives them a reason to say, no, I don't remember. It gives you another reason to get an objection. So the goal really is during those first few sentences to avoid any objections and get to the qualifying questions. So I've actually removed that completely out of my script.
Okay. Scripts are always evolving, and that's an important thing to remember. You're going to get to where it's a comfort zone for you. I talked with a couple agents over the weekend and says, guys, you gotta inject a little humanness into this. You sound almost robotic. You sound almost like a telemarketer, and that's the last thing you want. You've got to remember you're calling. You got 7 seconds to grab their attention. You got 7 seconds to proceed forward. So the greeting is one of the most important parts of our script, because you only have that very limited time. And mine's very frank. I'm, hey, Bill, hey, this is Nate calling about your Wells Fargo mortgage for $175,000. Several weeks ago, you or your wife sent a request in to us for insurance. We don't show anything's ever been done with this. I'm the field underwriter for Fayette County. I just have to ask you a couple of health questions to get this out to you. That is my evolved script over 4 years. I still stick with the best system. I still have a copy of the script out when I call, but it has evolved over time, and that's one of the most important things. So great point, Kara. Want to bring on, speaking of Bill, I want to bring Bill Davies onto the call next. Just a fearless leader, one of our best recruiters we have in the agency. And this guy is an expert at building businesses in a previous industry, and very, very just passionate about what he's doing at Symmetry. has gotten some great results on the phone and in the home, as well as agency building. And he is very, very detail oriented, which is great for this section of the call. He's going to talk about what to and what not to gather as far as health information, what's actually important and what's going to be needed when you're doing risk assessments with your upline. So Bill, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Hey, thanks, Nate. Boy, this is a great opportunity to sharpen your pens and sharpen your techniques, because every time you pick up the phone, it can be anywhere from $7 to $10 value to you. So it's really great. But asking the proper questions in the medical zone can really help you qualify your client. And everybody should have a CQF or a client qualification form in front of you when you're chatting with your clients, okay? So if you don't have that, try to get some of those printed off. And after your general information, your date of birth, your height and weight, and this is very critical, the age, height, and weight, and tobacco use as far as general information, because this can disqualify them in some cases, grade them, and so you have to get all that down. Now, obviously, you need to be in the moment, and I had to learn this the hard way several times, but with women, they're very sensitive about how much do you weigh. You know, you don't even ask your wife that question. My wife still tells me to hide my face when she's weighing herself on the scale. Nope, not going to show you. So you have to be careful with that, and you can figure some of that stuff out when you get to the house, and if it looks obvious that they might be a little bit over, you might have to ask them. But you try to get all that data available so that you can plug it into the virtual mentor. But down to the medical problems, on the best script, we talk about, do you use tobacco or do you smoke tobacco? And you say, good. I always say, good, you don't plan on starting today. This is what kind of Tom and Nate introduced to me. You got to bring some fun stuff into it as well. Man, I hope you're not. And it kind of brings you down to outside of a telemarketer where you're just reading a script. So don't, try your best not to feel like you're reading a script, but stay on script to the best of your ability. When you ask them, hey, Steve, do you and do you or Mary have any medical problems that we should know about before we put all these plans together for you, like maybe high blood pressure issues or diabetes, cancer, heart attack, cholesterol, any of those kinds of things? You wait a little bit, you get the information. If they tell you something like, yeah, I just went in the hospital last month and had a colonoscopy. I had one customer, you really need to go get a colonoscopy. They really wanted to envelop me into this. And you just bring the humor back in. Oh, my goodness, I'll let you take care of all that. And when did you go in? How long did you stay in the hospital? What was it for? If they had a heart attack, start digging a little bit. Ask them questions. When did you go in? When would you first diagnosed? And if they're hesitant about giving you that information, you can get that information another way, such as, are you or your wife taking any prescription medications? And this will envelop them into, well, yeah, I'm taking a couple here. I'm taking lisinopril. I'm taking artevastatin. And some of you might say, well, I don't know what those names are. I don't either, but we start developing an understanding of those types of names for certain types of issues. So I'll ask them, okay, well, why are you taking amlodipine? And they'll tell you, well, that's for my heart issue, or that's for my blood pressure. Oh, really? When were you diagnosed with high blood pressure? So you jot it down. And then you'll have a client, maybe they'll say, yep, I have CHF. That's congestive heart failure. Well, that's a real critical issue. You're going to say, well, when were you diagnosed? Well, 1985. And okay, did you have any defibs installed? Well, yeah, that was in 1990. And people with health issues like talking about their problems for the most cases. They'll just kind of spill it when you start relating to them. And diabetes, that's another big issue on finding the right solution for your clients. And this is where you really need to stop and say, okay, when were you diagnosed? Because if they were diagnosed prior to age 50 or after age 50 is very important. And then also, are you taking any shots? Are you taking non-med, or are you taking the medical style of insulin, or the shot insulin? You'll get this information out and say, okay, when were you diagnosed and how often are you taking these? And you write this down. Now, I've had some clients that say, I am not comfortable with giving you all this information. I say, you know what? I understand. I'll tell you what, I want you to have your list available to me when I meet with you. I'm going to get these solutions out to the best of my ability. And when we meet, would you please have all of your prescriptions out? I went to one house just the other day, literally had a basket full of pills, different medications. And I asked him as I started writing them down, I said, you don't happen to have a list written down of all your pills, right? And most of them have it typed out. Here's my list. Oh, thank you so much. Can I keep this? Yeah. So that really helps out. So get all of these details of their medical issues and their spouse's medical issues, and then you move on. This is the only way you can truly give them the proper solutions. And after you get all that information together, then you can look for the solutions. If there's an issue, you can contact the carriers, call them up. You need to be very familiar with the underwriting guides, so you have a quick look on their height and weight if you're curious. And one, I said, you know what? Here's the cost of your insurance if you lose 30 pounds. It's fun. Hey, you know what? This is a cost. It's going to cost you $30 extra a month because of the weight issue. But I'll tell you what, let's get something rolling for you now, and then let's meet back in about 6 months. You should be able to knock that off, right? And so they say, yeah, I'm in the process. I should be able to. It's a good deal. So let's save you $30 in a few months. Let's work this out. But get all of those medical issues resolved on the phone that you possibly can, but be in the moment. If they talk about heart issues, oh my goodness, yeah, my dad had an issue like that, which he did. And I had to fly out to Idaho to go check on him. So be real, be in the moment, don't be robotic. You'll have a friend. If you get that friend on the phone, they're more likely to allow you to help them with an application process. And that's most of all I do with regards to the medical issues.
Love it, Bill. Thanks for that. I have to ask you a question just real quick. How did you learn what you needed to know? Did it evolve over time? Did you study your applications and know what the questions were going to be? How did you start to learn what questions you need to ask? Like if somebody says, I'm a diabetic, how did you learn how to know to ask, like, well, how old were you when you were diagnosed? Or are you on insulin, or are you on just pills? How did you find all that out?
You know what? This was a process of time, but I listened to a lot of SoundClouds. I mean, a lot of them. And I do the instant income phone script Tom introduced me to, and I tweaked it a little bit. But a lot of your questions are right there. And I had some denies a couple times on applications, and I began to reach out to my carriers and learn more. I began to study underwriting guides and dig a little bit. And it was quite interesting. What is accepted and what's not. And several times, don't hesitate to reach out to your mentors and say, hey, manager, I need some help here. Not sure what to do. As a matter of fact, there's been times we've had to call from the home, from the kitchen table, and say, you know what, I'm really stumped here. But don't say that in front of the client, please. You say, you know what, I am going to call I call them my senior underwriter that's been doing this for long. I want to make sure I have the best deal for you, the best option for you that is possible. And so I get on the phone and I'll call my manager and say, you know what, here's the situation. Here's where we're at. Here's what we are looking for doing according to what we've seen. Am I on the right track? And then your manager will say either, no way, Bill, that's not the right direction to take. Here's a better one. And they'll direct you. My very first application, I reached out to Nate, and Nate helped me do my first IUL. It was incredible. Don't hesitate. If you ever get stumped on a medical issue, call your manager. And then when you get home, do some homework. Do some underwriting homework. Read up on it. Study it. But another thing I want to help you guys out with, there's an app that if you don't have, you can get. It is called GoodRx. GoodRx is really cool. You can type in the first few letters of just about any drug. You can click on that drug, and it'll tell you what that drug does, what it's for, what it looks like. And so that's going to be really cool. So look up the drug, and it'll give you the right spelling too, because the applications want to have accurate spelling, and the applications will ask these questions. So yes, Nate, the applications did teach me a lot because these are questions that they all ask.
Love it, sir. Appreciate your input on this. We'll come back to you here in a little bit. I want to turn it back over to Aaron. Aaron, talk to us about the why. What have you found out is important about finding the why? What's that sound like for you? And what have you realized since you've gotten really good at this? What's happened to the quality of your appointments? Spend a few minutes telling us about the why and the importance.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Now, are you talking more about the why in the home, or are you talking more about the why?
All on the phone. Why did they fill this out and set this in? We're going to do another call like this in a few weeks, probably on in-home. This is specifically everything regarding the script. So how do you ask, as soon as you're done with health questions, it's your favorite question. I know it is because you've told me that, and it's definitely my favorite question. Why did they send this in? Just tell us about that.
Absolutely. And something to think about, the quality of the questions you ask folks, they're going to perceive it as how much you care. So if you ask the right questions and keep digging in, you may get what we call as the surface why. Well, I was curious about this. I just wanted to quote, I just got this in the mail. If you get any sort of nonchalant answer, you just ask, hey, well, what does the situation look like right now? If your husband was to pass away, you got to be bold. You got to ask questions like that. You will get tons and tons of surface whys. Oh, I just wanted a quote. Well, we were just curious about how this whole mortgage protection worked. This is an emotional business, and you'll hear that a lot. Without emotion, first of all, on the phone, you're never going to make a sale, and without emotion in the home, you're never going to make a sale. You got to keep digging in. You will get tons and tons and tons of objections, and this is one of the the number one things that you need to focus on. Like I said, what does the situation look like if it's Sarah's on the phone? Well, if John passed away, what's in place? Questions like that.
Excellent. How I ask the why, and this is where we get into quality versus quantity. And my why asking that question, it's number 7 if you're following the best script. But Aaron, I want to run this through you real quick, and you can give me your normal generic answer that most people say. And this is where we really dig. So Aaron, most importantly, when you or your wife sat down and filled this out, what were you concerned about? Was it if something happens to you, you want to make sure the mortgage payments are covered, or is it more along the lines if you got hurt or sick or couldn't work that it takes over payments, or was it for your wife, or what were you all concerned about?
Probably both of us.
Okay, so if either one of you got hurt or sick, you want to make sure the payments are covered, or if you passed away, you want to make sure the mortgage is taken care of. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, that's right.
A why can seriously be that simple, but it's one of the most critical questions on the script we ask, because this is where you get quality over quantity. I've had it to where I've gone all the way through the script, asked the health questions, everything, and I've gotten to the why, and I've had people say, well, I just thought we had to send it in. And I kept digging a little bit. Okay, well, you did sit down and fill this out and send this in, or you called in and answered the health questions and you entered your phone number for us to get back with you. If you pass away, do you want to leave your house to somebody? Is it a concern that the mortgage payments are covered? Or if your husband passes away, is it a concern that the mortgage payments are covered for you? Or are you guys going to be in trouble, or are you just fine? And if they tell me they're just fine, I wad it up and throw it away and move on to the next. I'm not going to fight for an appointment that I'm going to go in and just fail. I don't want to sit with somebody like that doesn't have a why. So this, out of all the questions in the script, is probably the most important section. At least it is, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Because this is where I get that quality over quantity. And we're going to talk about quality or quantity and converting over from the beginning, because you have to operate out of quantity when you're just learning. But we're going to make that transition over to more quality appointments and what that looks like here in just a couple minutes. Before we get to that, I want to pass this back over to Kara for a minute. She's going to talk about how she ties it down to make sure she minimizes the times that she gets stood up, or what we call porched. And she's going to talk about how she sets appointment, how far she sets them apart, what she does for planning. And then she's also going to wrap up with talking about her post-appointment instructions, like how she uses virtual mentor, things like that. So Kara, back over to you.
Thanks, Nate. Can I actually share my screen?
Sure. I don't know how to do that, but good question. I'll give you control of mine. Oh, I'm on a Mac. It's not going to let me. Oh, maybe it will. You got it?
Nope. I don't.
What do you want to share? What do you want to see?
Oh, I've got a couple of things that might be helpful to
shoot it over to an email on me real quick, and I'll blow it up on the screen.
Let me see if there's an easier way, because I think it'll be faster just to do it this way. Otherwise, we can do it without. Oh, you know what? Here we go. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Got it. Perfect.
Great. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the tie down. So the tie down for me starts right about here, for those of you who can see our screen. And so what I say is, I'm a broker working with about 35 different carriers, so I'm not limited to one option. This really allows me to shop around and determine the best coverage for you and your family. I'll need to do some research for you over the weekend to narrow those options down to a few of the best fits for you. As a field underwriter, I'll need to sit with both you and Heather for about 15 minutes with my laptop to determine what we can get you best qualified for. It looks like they have me scheduled in your area on Monday or Tuesday. What time are you both home from work? And then I'll say I can fit you in either, and I give them 2 different times. And I've already determined what time they're both home from work. And some people are retired. Some may do split shifts, where a husband is working first shift, the wife is working second shift, so that they can minimize babysitting costs. But I try to find out what time are they both home from work, so that we can determine a time before I throw out a time to them. And then I'll ask which time works best for you. Great. If you can grab a pen and jot down a few things, and this is where I do a pretty strong tie down. When I first started, I was nervous to ask them to write things down because I was afraid I was going to lose the appointment, and inevitably what would happen is I'd get to the home and they weren't there. So this helps me secure and minimize any kinds of being porched cancellations. So then I'll say, great, if you can grab a pen and jot down a few things. My name is Kara DiNardo. I spell that for them. I also give them my phone number. And then I will meet with you on Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. I'll need your doctor's name and phone number along with any prescription medications that you are taking, and put them on the kitchen table. A kitchen table works really well for me as a desk. So I let them know then where we're meeting and what information to have on the table to speed up the process for both of us. And then I'll say, great, that's all I need. I'll see you on Tuesday at 6:30. I try to be punctual, but if you can give me about a 15-minute window on either side, that'd be great, as I'm meeting with several other homeowners in your area. If I plug in your address, 123 Main Street, into my GPS, will that take me directly to your home? Is this a gated community? And then the last thing I do is, just like Bill's saying, is if you can engage the customer and make them laugh a couple of times. Do you smoke? Nope, not planning on starting tomorrow, do you? Another one that I use is, hey, I drive a white Explorer, so be looking for that. If you see some lady driving up and down your street, flag me down. And I get a chuckle or something like that. But that also helps with that rapport building prior to actually going into the home. So I will at least talk about the appointment time 3 different times during the tie down. Tuesday at 6:30. Tuesday at 6:30. I'll see you Tuesday at 6:30. So that way it's ingrained that I'm coming on that day. So that's how I do my tie down. And then the next piece is scheduling. So when I schedule, the first thing that I schedule is I have my ASAP planner, and I have the critical things that I schedule are first are going to be conference calls. So I have in all the conference calls. I have other things that I have going on for the week. And if those of you can see my screen, on Wednesday the 3rd, I had an appointment from the previous week that I scheduled. So I have that in there. Then I start building my schedule, and I will put in about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes in between the appointment times. So the first thing I schedule before anything else is I schedule conference calls. The second thing I schedule in are personal appointments and activities with my family. And then the third thing I schedule in are the appointments. So my family knows that I'm willing to meet and do different activities with them. I plan in different things, but my first priority is the conference calls. So sometimes I have to schedule things around those conference calls, but that is my first priority. Then as far as once you get beyond that, we're going to be talking a little bit about post-appointment, virtual mentor, agent guides, and what's the next steps. So the next things are, as you're scheduling your appointments, the goal when you're on the phones, especially when you first out, get the appointments. We'll figure out where to help you. We'll figure out what is going to be the best carrier, the best product. Don't worry about that. Just get the appointments. We'll help you figure it out after. So your goal when you first start dialing, get appointments. The rest of it we'll figure out. I know when I first started, somebody told me that, and I said, okay. And what happened was I inevitably got my first appointment, and I said, gosh, I don't know where to put them. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure out for myself what carrier and are they going to qualify, and then I would dissect, and I've just wasted a half an hour of dialing where I could have set 2 or 3 more appointments. So don't worry about understanding the products at that point. Don't worry about what the next pieces are. Just really set the appointments, and then take the afternoon, take the weekend, as we talk about, to actually figure out where you're going to put them. So the next thing you're going to do is, once you have your stack of appointments, you're going to plug them into Virtual Mentor. And Virtual Mentor, for those of you who've worked on it, are familiar with some of the processes, but where you're going to find some great information is you're going to find when you put in the information and qualify best as you can, you're going to hit search, and the top 3 are going to show up. And you're going to hear when you're talking to your mentor, they're going to say, hey, how about this carrier? And you're going to say, well, wait a minute here. I don't see them on this list. On the bottom right corner, it's going to say, hey, give me more options. And so you can actually get a full list at that point. The other thing is, this is where SFG has done a really great job simplifying the process. So under the first one, for example, Foresters, if you go to the build chart, it's going to tell you height and weight and what that looks like. It's going to have the agent guides. It's going to have how to run the quotes and take you to the company's quoting software. And then you can also, depending on what your status is, you can do applications, either paper applications or online applications. So have always a stack of paper applications, even if you've been writing with them and have been approved to do electronic applications. There's a number of reasons why, but just always have that. And of anything else, every single carrier has a replacement form, and it's specific to that particular carrier. Make sure you have a replacement form for every single application you ever fill out. So, and have that signed by the client. We don't replace, but we have to fill out an application, a form to say, no, we're not going to be replacing. So with that, if you click on the agent guide, you're going to pop up and you're going to have all of the information for that particular carrier, the carrier and the product. So you're going to see that it's going to tell you how to find, what to do, what qualifications, what ages, what medications they approve or don't approve, and any other tidbits that's helpful to know. And so after you've scheduled your appointment sessions, then go back and take a look and say, all right, well, let me see based on this particular client, based on their age, based on their health, I think I can put them in this product. Then take a look and do a little bit of research and see if that makes sense. Then the next step is, once you've made all your appointments, once you've gone ahead and gone through Virtual Mentor and you've kind of figured out maybe the best 2 or 3 carriers and products to use, then you're going to go ahead and batch them and send them to your upline. For me, I like to actually put my client qualification forms on a blue sheet of paper. It's kind of motivating for me, and it's a lot easier for me to see. So for me, this is what mine looks like. So I have the client qualification form, and then I have the actual lead. And just as we're kind of talking through the process, you're going to see in the upper right-hand corner of the lead, I have the date, and I have what lead type. And then I go and pull in the client qualification form. In the upper right-hand corner, I have the date and time of the appointment. I have the client information, the date of birth, the age, and then below that, I've already put down the medical conditions, the medications, the mortgage information, and then I've gone into Virtual Mentor, figured out which product I think is going to be good for her, and I put my suggestion underneath her name. And that's what I've done for every single one of my appointments. Now this gentleman, for those of you who can see my screen, I've got another gentleman, his name is Victor. I'm new, I don't know what this is, I don't know what carrier to put him in. So I've question marked that, so when I've talked to my upline, they can say, hey, you know what, I've come across the same situation, here's where I would put them. So that's really the best way for all of us as leaders to be able to help each of you. And at that point, the other thing is when you go into the home, for the first couple weeks until you're comfortable or until your upline tells you differently, you're going to send a text to your upline as well as to Tom Hall, who typically is not running appointments, so he's a lot more available, and whoever else your upline may suggest, and put them into a group text to say, hey, going to visit Preston Case, he's 74, he has COPD, his mortgage is $200,000. So that way, when you go into the home, they can be on standby, have the information, have the lead information, and have any medical conditions so they can intelligently help you through your appointment.
Excellent. Love it. Good stuff. Good content. I want to bring Aaron back on the line with you, Kara. And this is where you guys are really going to see what this looks like in action. Aaron's going to be a customer. Difficulty levels, your choice, guys. But just keep in mind new dialers and what they commonly run into, and kind of throw a couple of those objections, Aaron, at Kara, and she'll handle those. And let's actually do this. Let's hear you guys call each other for an appointment.
All right, let me grab my best script here and get started. Ring, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Aaron. My name is Kira DiNardo. I was calling you about the mortgage you have with Bank of America for about $140,000. I was following up on a handwritten form that either you or your wife had completed regarding mortgage protection coverage. So I was the field underwriter assigned to Cincinnati, and I just need to verify some information so that we can provide some options for the two of you. I have your age down as 33 and your wife is 31. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. That must have been something that she filled out. I don't really remember that.
Well, that's exactly why I'm calling. It was important for you guys to fill that out, and so I'm here to help you out. Have either of you smoked or used any tobacco products in the last year?
I'm a smoker. She is not.
Okay. And how often do you smoke? Regularly, daily?
Yeah, probably a half pack
Okay.
a day. Yeah, if she gets on my nerves, maybe a full pack.
I won't tell her you told me that.
All
And
right.
then, is it primarily cigarettes?
Yeah, it's cigarettes.
Okay. And then, have either of you been hospitalized or currently being treated for any medical conditions that you've been diagnosed with in the last 6 or 7 years, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, heart attack?
No, I had a shoulder surgery a couple of years ago. I don't know if that's something you need to know about, but it was just for like a torn muscle in my shoulder.
Okay. And that was a couple of years ago?
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
Okay. And then, how about for your wife?
No, I would probably need to check with her, but as far as I know, no major surgeries besides, a couple kids that we have. That would be about it.
Perfect. And what prescription medications are you both currently taking or have taken in the last couple of years?
Oh goodness. She takes something for her thyroid. And now that you say that, I do take I can't remember the name of it, but it's for high blood pressure and cholesterol mixed together. But yeah, it's well controlled, but that's all I'm taking right now.
Okay. And then, Erin, the other thing is with the shoulder surgery, what kind of prescription medications did they give you for that?
I was on hydrocodone for maybe 2 months. I didn't even refill the prescription or take all of it, but I was on a hydrocodone for a couple months.
Okay. And then, my records show that the mortgage was originally about $140,000. Was that for a 30-year loan?
It's actually that's a 20-year loan.
What are your monthly payments approximately?
Right at about $1,150.
Okay. And that includes taxes and insurance?
Yes, that's right.
Great. And so the last thing that I have, is probably the most important question for you. When the two of you had filled this form out, what was important to you? Is this if something were to happen, if you were to get sick or unable to work, that's going to make those mortgage payments for you?
Yeah, that's probably why she filled it out. That makes sense. Now that you said that, I do remember us talking a little bit of something. So yeah, probably both of us. Something for just to kind of see.
Okay.
We were curious about it.
Great. Well, that was exactly why I'm calling. I'm a broker. I work with about 35 different carriers, so I'm not limited to one option. This will allow me to shop around and determine the best coverage for the two of you and your family. I'll need to do a little bit of research over the weekend to narrow down those options to the best few fits for you. And as a field underwriter, I'll need to sit with the two of you together for about 15 minutes with my laptop to determine what we can get you best qualified for. It looks like they have me in your area on Monday and Tuesday. What time are you both typically home from work?
She gets home quicker than me. She's a school teacher. I'm typically home by, depending on traffic, 5:30, 5:45, something like that.
Okay. Let me take a look at my schedule. It looks like I do have either a 6:15 or a 6:30. Which time would be best to meet with the two of you?
Goodness, probably the 6:30, but I might need to check with my wife. But I think the 6:30 would probably be better.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and hold that 6:30 for you. If you can check with your wife, if it doesn't work, then give me a shout back in the next hour, but I'm going to go ahead and hold that for you. And what I'll need from you, if you could jot down, grab a piece of paper so you can jot down a couple of things.
Okay, I've got something already.
Great. So again, my name is Kara DiNardo. My phone number is, and then I'll meet with the two of you at 6:30 on Tuesday. And to speed up the process, I'll need your doctor's name and phone number for each of you, along with any prescription medications that you have. If you could go ahead and have those on the kitchen table. The kitchen table works really well for me as a desk. And that's really all I'll need. So I'll see the two of you on Tuesday at 6:30. I try to be punctual, but if you could give me about a 15-minute window on either side, that'd be great, as I'm meeting with several other homeowners. And then if I plug in your address, 123 Main Street, into my GPS, will that take me directly to your home?
Yeah, it's really easy to find. And you said this only takes about 15. I have a softball game that night at 7:45. Is that it, about 15 minutes? You said.
About 15 minutes to see what we can get you best qualified for. And this is, if this is something that's going to work well for you, great. It may take just a few more minutes to fill out the application.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great then. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. So I drive a white Explorer, so be looking for that. If you see somebody driving up and down your street, flag me down. That's probably me. Otherwise, I'll see the two of you on Tuesday at 6:30.
Okay. Great.
Have a good one.
All right.
All right, guys. Nice work. Appreciate it. Great job. We've talked about posture on the phone already. We pretty much covered that. Quantity to quality is really easy. Where you're going to start is quantity. You just need to get in front of as many people as possible, because the law of large numbers will get you success in this business. So the more people you can get in front of, the easier this job gets. But over time, your script is going to start to evolve to your own thing, and you're going to shorten your script. You're going to take some things out that maybe aren't working for you, maybe add something in. I'm going to run through mine in just a couple of minutes, and you can hear the difference between what that sounds like now and how I've shifted focus from getting quantity, just getting 15 to 18 appointments. I'd rather have 10 really solid, good appointments than 15. But when you're starting out brand new, you've got to rely on the law of large numbers. So the reason I say this is some of you are all going to see on GroupMe, you're going to see some agents post 8, 10 appointments. You're going to be like, well, what in the world's wrong with those slackers? They're not doing their job right. Well, they actually are, because they've done this long enough that they're able to get the same results out of less and less appointments. And guys, over time, that's what you're going to be able to experience. But don't start out thinking that that's okay. You really need to shoot for the 15 every single week, week in and week out, for the first 6 months to get a hang of this, because there's so much to learn. There's so many products, so many twists and turns in underwriting, and each client is different. This is a people business. It's a simple business, but it's not easy, because you are dealing with people, and every case is going to be a little bit different. But over time, you're going to get a very, very good foundational understanding of underwriting. You're going to understand how to listen to not only verbal and voice inflections and things like that, what people say, but you'll actually be able to read body language better. You're going to see what their posture is like. And when you've really done this for a while, you're actually going to get body language. I know this sounds crazy. You'll be able to tell how they're sitting. You'll be able to tell their demeanor over the phone just by their voice inflection. And that is a really cool place to be at. The problem is you can't get there overnight. It's going to take 10 or 20,000 dials to get to that point. So don't fret. If you're having a hard time, it's a little rough on the phones at first, let's talk about how you can improve that. The first thing you need to do is you need to make sure you're posting on GroupMe every 5 contacts, because as Maria said, that's how we were able to stop and correct her script and get her on the right page. As we saw, okay, she dialed 9 people. She's called 4 A's. 4 A's say 1 out of every 5 to 7 should generate an appointment. So she was a little off. So we stopped, worked on her greeting, found out she was digging a little too much in one place and maybe skipping over another. And we were able to rein that in a little bit. And then all of a sudden she was setting 1 out of every 3 to 4 on a 3A lead. And she just got phenomenally better. And it was all because she followed the system and plugged in. So I can't stress enough the importance of posting those 3 numbers on GroupMe constantly, every 5 contacts. And again, that number is dials/contacts/appointments. Also important for us as coaches to be able to help you. And there are a lot of people on this call as leaders that will stop, even if you're not in their direct downline. They're happy to stop and coach with you for a minute. And that's the beauty of symmetry, is everyone's here to help everybody else, regardless if they get a benefit or not. I know, Aaron, you and Bill had a call the other day, or you and Kara had a call, and you guys are there to help each other out and hold each other accountable, and neither one of you benefit from the other's production. And that, to me, is phenomenal, and that's what sets this agency and this company apart from all the competition out there. So I applaud you guys for doing that. And that is just the cool things that those of you that are brand new to this system and this company, that's the kind of support you get to look forward to. But you have to go get it. You have to take advantage of it. How do we do that? We post numbers on GroupMe. We engage in conversations. We're on conference calls. We're doing all the right things and plugging in. And most importantly, we're going to meetings. Just about everybody on this call is registered for conference in 2 weeks. You're going to get, it's going to be like drinking from a fire hose. It's going to be a crazy 3 days. But the information you're going to get out of that is phenomenal. So that is part of where you build these relationships, and we can't wait to meet all of you. We're going to go down to our last part. This is my favorite part of this call. We're going to go through some objections and stump the agent and some Q&A. But before we do that, Aaron or Kara, actually, I'm going to pick Kara. Kara, I want you to be that somewhat difficult customer, and I'm going to call you. And guys, I want you to kind of hear how I can be. Here's the thing. You guys heard Kara, and she did a phenomenal script with Aaron. For some of us, that is perfect. For others, you may fall flat on your face if you try to do it the same way. Kara can get away with it because she's very, very good. I'm not. I suck at the phones. I've sucked at the phones for 4 years. I'm actually okay. I just dread it. Phones are something I've never really enjoyed. Maria talked about using essential oils. I used to drink beer when I was sitting and calling clients because it made me comfortable. Aaron sits by his pool. There's a lot of different things you all can do to relax, but be comfortable with being uncomfortable is my point. I've been there. I'm still there. I don't like dial times. I still dread it, but I have to do it because every time I pick up that phone, Kara, what was your last number when you calculated? Every time you press a green button, how much were you making?
300 and change
Per dial?
Per dial. Not even per.
$300?
Yep.
That's insane. I think my highest was 182, and I thought I was high. You were making $300 a dial. That's nuts. But that means every dial that she did resulted in something happening, whether it was an appointment or not. She took her commissions that she made for the week and divided it out by the dials that she made. And every time she pressed that green button, all of a sudden it got easier, didn't it, when you knew you were making $300?
It makes it a lot easier because I don't like the phones.
Yeah, me neither. And that's okay. We've gotten comfortable with being uncomfortable, right?
Absolutely.
Let's burn through my script real quick. You can be difficult, throw me some objections, and we're going to open this up for some Q&A. And then you guys can throw objections at any one of us. You get to pick the target. We're going to do our best, but you may stump us, and that'll be fun. So, Kara, I'm going to call you. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Kara.
Yes.
Hey, this is Nate Hall calling about your Wells Fargo mortgage for $175,000. How are you today?
I don't have a mortgage with Wells Fargo.
Well, you had one at one time, right? It probably got sold.
It's been a
or
long time ago.
Okay. Still have a mortgage though, right?
Yes.
Okay. A while back, either you or your husband sent a request in to us for insurance options on your mortgage. Now, it may have been a year or two ago. We're going through our system. There's some new programs out. We don't show that anything was ever done with this. I am the field underwriter for Maricopa County, and I just need to update a couple pieces of health information. I'm going to get the new programs out to you. Got your date of birth here as 11/18/80. Is that right?
You know, we've gone through this with a couple other people. They've come to my home. It's not really that important to me right now.
Okay, so what changed from when you filled this out to now?
You know, we can't afford it, I think, after we've re-looked at our bills.
Okay, is it a concern, like if your husband passed away or you passed away, are you guys going to lose your home, or are you completely fine?
Oh, no, we need both of our incomes.
Okay, so if you lost your income, or let's say you got hurt for a while, couldn't work, are you in jeopardy of losing your house? Is that going to be a problem?
Oh, yeah, that would be detrimental. We probably would have to foreclose.
Okay, and I don't know who you've spoken with because we've been doing this for a long time, but we actually don't have any records of talking with you. So it may have been a third party, may have been something else. Who knows? Average programs are usually, $40, $60, sometimes $80. And again, I don't have a record. So let me verify this. There's a lot of new programs, and I'll get this information out. Your date of birth is 11/18/80, right?
Yes.
And have 5/15/83. Is that your husband?
Sure.
His first name's Brent, right? As I have here on the mortgage record.
It is today.
Okay. Do either of you smoke or use tobacco?
He doesn't smoke. He chews periodically, but he only does it when he's stressed. I don't smoke.
Okay. And any major health issues or hospital stays over the last 5 years, like cancers, heart attacks, anything major?
He used to use a CPAP machine. It's been a while. I don't know. I don't think he really needs it anymore. He hasn't used it for a couple of years. I was pre-diabetic. They didn't put me on any medications.
Okay. So you're not taking anything now for diabetes?
No.
Okay.
Nah.
Where do you work? What do you do for a living?
I sell cars.
Where?
For a small mom and pop dealership.
Okay. And what's Brent do for a living?
He is a hotel manager.
Oh, which hotel does he manage?
Hilton. He's got like
Uh,
4 hotels he sees.
I got a
He
good friend of
oversees.
mine. She used to manage Marriott. That was a heck of a business for her. She was in it for a long time and actually works with our company now. So
Huh.
uh, that's pretty cool. She worked for the competitor though, and I think her husband worked for them too. So, or he worked for Hilton. So that was a fun family to always hear about the competition between the two. Awesome. And, we kind of talked about the importance of this, but the facts are if either one of you lose your incomes or you lost one or the other, you guys are kind of in trouble with the house. Is that correct?
Yeah, it'd be pretty devastating.
Okay. What I'll do, there's about 30 companies that do this kind of stuff. I'm going to work on this over the weekend, get it narrowed down to about half a dozen of them. I've got to do some medical questions to get it narrowed down to the final one and do a quick risk assessment to get the options out to you. I'm on that end of the county Monday afternoon and Monday evening. What time are you guys both home from work on Mondays? What's your schedule look like typically?
Hmm. I'm usually home by 5. His is really hard to tell.
Okay. What time's he typically home? Like, is it usually 7 or 8, or is he one of those second shifters?
Like 6, I guess, 6:30.
Okay. What I'll do, I've got about 6 or 8 other families. They've got me kind of crammed up on Monday. I tell you what, I can squeeze you guys in safely, probably about 7:30. You think you'll be home by 7:30 on Monday? I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
someone just got
7:30 should be
shot.
good.
Okay. Sounded like in the background. All right. What I'll do is I'll put you down for 7:30. If that changes, if I've got 6 or 8 other families I'm working with, I will try to be there right on time. But give me about a 20-minute window on either side of that. Should only take about 15 minutes. I've just got to knock out these health questions, have you sign a HIPAA form, and then we'll get the right programs out to you. But I will try to be there right at 7:30. No issues. I know the neighborhood pretty well. I think I know right where your house is, but it's on GPS and everything, right?
Yeah, it's we've got a big green door in the front.
Okay. Well, my blue car will match well with your green door. So if you see a guy in a blue car driving up and down the road, it's me. I'll eventually find it. But I'll put you guys down for 7:30. Do me a big favor if you could to speed things up. Any medications y'all have, just write it down on a sheet of paper or have it out on the table. That'll make things go a lot faster. And then it's usually dark by about 7:30. If you flip on your front lights, so I'm not driving around all night, I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, I'll see you guys at 7:30. Have a good weekend.
Okay, and what was your name again?
Nate.
Nate. Okay.
Nate Hall, like a hallway you walk down. And we'll see you
Okay,
at
Nate.
7:30.
Awesome. Thank
You
you.
guys have a good weekend.
Thanks, you
That's
too.
my script. Handle the objections as best as I can. A lot of times I'll say that's exactly why I'm calling. That gives me a couple seconds to think about what I'm going to say. But that is your script in a nutshell. You've got to get the greeting. You got to get their attention. Anything they're going to say, all you have to do is collapse it. And if you do this right, once you've done this for a little bit, you're going to shift your focus from overcoming objections to what I love to teach agents, and that's avoiding them altogether. And when you go through the script, you sound really, really busy. You're not going to get a lot of these objections that new agents might get. So, even if this is your first appointment, one of the big takeaways you want out of this is you are busy. And people respect that because it's the bandwagon mentality. Oh, well, everybody must be doing this. I'm going to be part of that. They're really busy. He's doing me a favor by fitting me into his schedule. That's the kind of mentality I want, because when people think that, they're not going to stand me up on an appointment. And that's what we want for each and every one of you. So hope that's been helpful. We're going to put this recording on GroupMe so you guys can access this time and time and time again. But that's our script in a nutshell. I'm going to shut the recording down at this time. Is there before I shut the recording off and we open this up for Q&A, leaders, is there any other things you want to add to this?
I would say is track. So there is the there's the leads form that's going to help you manage your metrics. So if you're running 50-cent leads, for example, and you get 1 appointment for every 5 and you're saying that's awful, it's actually really, really impressive. So, and for me, one of the things that I do is I track quite a bit of information. And in January, I did 912 dials. I had 51 appointments. In March, I had 872 dials, so just about 50 less, but I had 82 appointments. So had an additional 30 appointments. So as you get better on the phones, you will actually have a lot more quality, like Nate was saying, versus quantity.
And one of the best lessons you can learn is don't be afraid of the phones. No one can reach through and choke you. They can't grab you by the neck. Worst thing they could do is hang up on you. No one cares. You move on to the next one. So do not be afraid of calling. Do not hesitate. We're paid very, very well, 6-figure incomes for helping people get out of their own way. So always remember that. Any other questions or comments from leaders for me in the recording?
Yeah, Nate, you've already touched on it, but I was just going to say, don't be afraid to stop, drop, and roll. I reached out to you a million times, and like you said, it can be one little thing. It can be your tone, how loud you're speaking, the changing a couple words around. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but I mean, reach out. The people that reach out in this business are the people that are still around. If you don't reach out and you feel shy or that sort of thing, always post your numbers, like they said. Yeah, reach out for help. I mean, there's anybody and everybody will be here to help you guys.
Yep. It's a mental game.
It sure is. Matter of fact, I heard this one time and it really helped me a lot, is just make it into a game. And so every time you get a no, I'm sure everyone's probably read the book, Go for No. When you get a no, just go next. Go to the next one. And just hurry and get to the next one. Don't pause and wait and soak on the no, but just rush on to the next one and keep motoring on. I think the matrix shows us roughly 30 dials per hour. And if we do 250 dials, about 8.5 hours of dials. But each dial is like 3 times each individual. So if you can't reach them, don't leave a voicemail. Do not leave voicemails. And then you immediately dial them a second time, dial them a third time. That counts as 3 dials. Okay. And so, but go for no, because eventually the yeses will come. They owe you. The system will owe you, because it always makes sense if you follow that system. It really works.
We forgot to mention double dialing, but that's really important. Maria, are you still on the call?
I am. I had a few things. I triple dial.
Even better. Explain what you mean by triple dial. When
I was starting out, I did double dialing, and I really wasn't making those appointments. And then you were like, okay, triple dial. Or I don't know if you were Tom, but anyway, one of you said triple dial, and I went, what? And you said, well, when you hang up, you kind of count in your head to maybe like 8 or 10, and then you dial again. And then you hang up after the 4th ring, and you let it go again. And you do that 3 times. And what I'm finding is on that 3rd ring, they're like, somebody's calling and it's kind of urgent. Well, you know what? It is urgent. They've been waiting a really long time for your call, and you're finally there to help them. So that's the triple dial is working really well for me.
That's
excellent.
Good stuff.
Guys, if you don't believe that if what you're doing is important, you need to do a mental checkup, because I know Aaron put a story on GroupMe a couple days ago, or I think it was yesterday, of what happened. I talked to somebody over the weekend and she was completely fine. And when he went out to actually run the appointment, she was in the hospital in a diabetic coma, probably not going to survive at this point, right, Aaron?
Yeah, that's right. And that all happened within a couple days.
I've called people before, set an appointment on a Friday afternoon. I'll never forget. Called a 34-year-old, my age, set an appointment with the wife, and the husband was supposed to be there, and I got to the house and they weren't there. And I'm like, oh man, you gotta be kidding me. Got porched. And called him back a couple days later, and she goes, my husband was killed in a car accident on the way home from work, and I had to rush to the hospital. He didn't make it. You wanna talk about the importance of what we do? You got to believe that what we do is that important, because it is that urgent. It is that important. And that's what Maria is talking about. This is serious stuff. And that's why.
Hey, Nate.
Yes.
Can I add to that as well? If we know our why and our reasons, then it's not as hard for us to push a little harder to get that appointment so we can help that family. I drove up to a house after booking the appointment, and the older gentleman answered the door with a downtrodden heart. Just that night before his wife died. He was the one that was unhealthy when I did the questionnaire on him. She was healthier. I come to the door, his wife has passed. And it was a tragic situation. I said, man, if I could have connected with them last weekend. And so when you dial, also on a second note, remember this: if you don't reach them on Friday, you pull it out again on Saturday. If you don't reach them on Saturday, try it in the evening or try it on Sunday. But keep dialing. Never forget, I think it was Aaron that showed a meme of one of his lead sheets. It had 27 tick marks on the bottom for every dial he made. Was that you, Aaron?
Yeah.
And sold at like a $3,400 deal after attempting 20-something times to reach that client. So don't throw the lead out after you tried 1 or 2 days. Bring it on the next week. Doing the same thing.
I got to support that statement too. We're working the older leads. You know, Bill's absolutely, Aaron's spot on. They've been waiting how long for you to help them? There are leads that from February 15th was my first day calling, and I still call them. Without fail, I call them because, you know what, I'm going to help them. And that's just the way it is. They're there to be helped, and we're going to help them because that's our job.
Love it. All right, everyone. I'm going to shut the recording off here. Let's open it up for some Q&A.